Before we go into it, I do just want to take a moment to thank.
Before we watch the video, we just wanted to ask you a massive favour.
We just wanted to ask you if you could please take a minute to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, and also check out our TikTok for short content and daily updates.
We really want to keep growing the Boxing 365 community and keep making content like this for yourselves, the boxing fan.
And most of all, thank you and enjoy the video.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Boxing 365. We're looking at the next episode of the next card in the deck, and that is going to be a little bit different. It's the Heist, which is courtesy of GBM and Izzy Azif, and it's going to be at the Connection Live in Hull. We should be there, unless something goes horribly wrong between now and next Saturday. It's going to be a little bit different. It's in a tournament format, so there will be 8 super middleweights. There'll be quarters, semis, and final, and the winner gets £25,000.
Unfortunately, I'm not competing.
No, fortunately not.
Bit of a nightmare, but yeah. So I like these sort of styles. I'll be honest. I half anticipated with the change in boxers format, them going back to that sort of thing with regards to the BBC, potentially give them an opportunity to fill their content calendar as such. Before we go into it, I do just want to take a moment to thank Izzy Azif. I know you said that when we discussed this, maybe think about what I was going to say instead of just babbling rubbish. I just wanted to give him a bit of a shout out, to be fair, because there's been a couple of occasions where I've reached out to him for a bit of advice and sort of how he finds, being still relatively new to the industry from this side, not just sort of inside the ropes. And he's been brilliant. And touch wood, he's made us a promise that he's able to sort us out the media accreditations for this weekend, so we can go down, represent our brand, our fans, and hopefully get to meet some of these lovely people.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
So other than that, that's my shout out.
Big thanks to Izzy. All right, we're going to go through. We'll talk about. There are a few other fights on the card, but we're going to talk about the 8 fighters predominantly.
Perfect.
We'll start off with Taz Nadeem.
I like Taz.
Yeah,
I like
7-0,
Taz.
4 stoppages. He was only just out as well. He was out on the Crocker McComb card.
27th of September.
Yeah, back end of September.
Yeah. So do you know what? Obviously, it's hard to judge him. And again, this isn't going to be a normal 30-minute video. So without going into too much detail, other than him being very bloody strong, we're not sure how good Taz Nadeem is. And we'll see this in this tournament because you've got some fighters who we will cover over the next sort of 10 minutes or so who are good. But he's my dark horse in this one. I think the 3-minute rounds will suit him. He's fast out the blocks. He's powerful. He's tough. He's strong. The only thing that worries me, and you picked up on it, is his weight.
Yeah.
He's only ever made a super middleweight weight limit once in his 7 fights.
Yeah. I think you wouldn't take it and commit to it without being confident he can get there. But whether that's going to take a toll, whether it will change how he fights. Well, like you say, the format, the tournament format should suit him quite nicely. He's big, he's strong. Can't particularly see that it will be anything sort of a surprise to him. Obviously, not fought the tournament format before, but it's going to suit him. It's sure it's opportunity to go and look like you're winning the rounds, which I think he will do.
I think it suits him for that regards, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's interesting. You talked about there's good fighters in there. So we've got people like Ellis Stewart.
Really good.
Yeah, he's 12-0. He's only has 2 stoppages, but so pressure and your power and your strength is gonna show in rounds. But if that's all you've got and you come up against a boxer who's gonna just box your head off for 3 rounds, you ain't gonna win that fight.
No, and this is the thing that makes it interesting. So Ellis Stewart, I like Ellis a lot. I think he's a really, really good boxer. The thing that will let him down as he starts to go through the levels is that lack of power. You get up to the very, very highest echelons of the sport, and if you're not able to get your opponent's respect pretty early, you're just not able to sort of climb into that upper echelons of the world champions and the European champions. But with this format, he's from a boxing perspective, he's one of the best on the card. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on.
Yeah, and I think he's been very active lately. This last couple of years,
Yeah.
he's had 2 fights this year, and I think he had 3 or 4 in 2024 as well. So he's been active, which is always a good thing. Which is leading us on nicely to Jermaine Brown, who he's 14-3, 5 stoppages, so we're going to help him out in the tournament format. He's only lost to good opposition, Mark Jeffers, Zuko, Zach Shelley, all good fighters who've beaten him. And he wasn't stopped by any of them either, so that's
No.
good news. But 14 months now out of the ring.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've had a fighter this weekend, obviously, in Jordan Thompson, who'd been out the ring for 2 years through choice. And I'm sure it's the same with Jermaine Brown. But we saw that the first 5, 6 rounds just sort of didn't believe in himself, getting the rust off.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that does worry me. This isn't the sort of tournament where you can have the first fight, find your feet, and then we'll go on to the next one. You have to start quick. There's
Yeah.
no option. So that does worry me because if you remove that from a caliber point of view and experience, Jermaine Brown for me is the favourite going in. I
Mm.
think the activity is a real concern for me.
Yeah, he's got them. He seems to have more experience. He's fought good fighters, which it's not to say that others haven't, but I think he's fought at that level more regularly. Jeffers, Zuko, and Shelley all at a particular level.
You'd say they're all European domestic sort of
Yeah,
level, wouldn't you?
yeah. So I think he's fell short there.
Yeah.
But as far as the rest of the fighters go, he's got seems to have a decent chance, I think. But we'll move on. We've got James Osborne. He's 10-1, 2 knockouts. His only loss comes to another fighter who was actually in the tournament.
Yes.
We talked about this, and that rounds up for an exciting clash, doesn't it? If they do, fingers crossed, they do meet in the tournament. But
Yeah, so we're not really sure how they're going to draw the fights yet. I would assume there's going to be an element of randomisation,
mm,
would be my natural thought. But yes, only loss coming at the hands of Mr. S.A. Smith, who is another. We mentioned it earlier when sort of making sure we were ready for getting the recording started, and we mentioned he's an interesting case, which we will cover in his own right. Osborne, for me, comes in as a bit of an underdog, um, not beating anyone of any real notoriety. But again, he's good, he's decent. You don't get to 10-1 without that.
yeah.
But I do see him exiting in the first lot of rounds, unless he gets a nice easy draw. If I'm honest.
Well, it's interesting because quite a few of the fighters on the card. Sorry, passing shot at Grant Dennis, but a few people on the card of wins over Grant Dennis, which sort of maybe shows that they're of similar kind of level.
Yeah.
He has looked good. He's 3 of his last wins have been against people that were unbeaten until
Yep.
they bumped into him, and he's actually fought in a tournament like this before with top tier, and he did win.
Yep.
So he knows what to expect. A lot of these people, although they know of the fighters,
Yep.
although they know, that, they're not turning up and finding out on the night what's happening.
Yeah. They're not turning up and going, "Oh, well, I'm
Yeah,
boxing."
they know what to
Yeah.
expect, but he really knows what to expect. So that might give him a bit of an edge, actually.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's a really good point that you've made. The only thing is you look at the top tier lineup in regards to that tournament, and the caliber that he was facing there was different.
Yeah,
You had you had fighters that were making their debut in
mm,
that tournament.
yeah,
Like it is slightly different, but at the same time, from the very little we've seen of him from a media standpoint, seems a nice enough guy, and good luck to him.
yeah, absolutely. We'll move on then, and I will pronounce his name as Richard Lewicki.
It's
Um,
Rika
okay,
Levicki, I think.
brilliant. Well, that was perfect from you, but I'm going to call
Thanks.
him Richard Lewicki.
We'll call him Rich.
Um, 10-1-3. His draws. He's got 2 draws to the same, to one of the same fighters. Um, he's not been stopped, but he did lose to Reece Farnhill for the English title
Yeah.
at Super Middle. So fought for an English title and lost to a decent enough fighter. I think
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
he's interesting because he's one of the fighters who does have a few knockouts on his record or a few stoppages on his record. So
Yeah.
4 in his 10 wins, and I think that he's gonna carry a bit of confidence into what is a short fight.
Yeah, I think with Levicki, I think having that opportunity to fight for the English title, a prestigious title in its own right in and around domestic level against someone like Thornhill, who is a good fighter in his own right,
Yeah.
will stand him in really good stead. I'd be lying if I said I knew a lot about him in regards to his ability, what he's going to offer in this tournament. But 3 draws, when you see a lot of fights on when you see a lot of fighters on high draw sort of percentages as far as boxing records go, tends to indicate that they're awkward, they're scrappy, they keep the rounds close.
Mm.
Now, I'll be honest, I've not made my mind up whether or not that's going to do him the world of good in this sort of format, or it's going to be his detriment. 3 rounds, it's not a set six, it's not an eight, it's not a 10 round, 12 round fight. It's 3 rounds. So it'll be interesting just purely to see how he approaches it,
Yeah.
differently to what he's approached to his previous fights. But like I said, I don't know enough about him to comment
Yeah.
accurately, if I'm honest.
That's fair enough. We'll move on to Liam O'Hara, who's one of the more experienced fighters who's going to be in the tournament. He's 13-1. Again, he's got 4 stoppages.
Yep.
He was stopped and he was lost by Ollie Cooper. That was in November of last year
Yep.
when he was fighting for the Midlands area title.
Yep.
But like quite a few of the fighters on the card, he was out recently in September where he did win. I think it was in a 4 round, we said. So,
Yeah.
but I think anybody carrying momentum into this fight, into this tournament,
Yeah.
he's got to be feeling quite confident.
Yeah, you'd like to think from a notice point of view that Izzy would have given them a bit of notice that this was coming up even pre-announcement.
Yeah.
So my guess is that these fights were scheduled in as right. You know what? I just need the activity. Yes, there's always the risk of a clash of heads or whatever, but generally speaking, against the opponent he fought, who was 12 and 175 and 4 or something,
Mm.
the chance of you guys clashing heads is unlikely. It's a good opportunity just to get out, make sure the ring rust isn't there.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you know what? I think Liam comes in with a really good opportunity here to take his record from 13-1 to 16-1 if he wins all the fights.
Mm.
And he's got to be one of the favourites. I mean, yeah, he lost to Ollie Cooper, but Ollie Cooper's a good fighter. He remains unbeaten, I believe. I think he's gone on to win another couple of 3 fights since that. It's interesting. But again, it's so hard to when you've got a tournament style where you don't know who's fighting who. It's so hard to critique and understand exactly what us and the rest of the fans are going to expect to see
Yeah.
in comparison to a normal next card in the deck episode where we go right. We have
Yeah.
A versus B. How does that align? With this, we don't quite have that benefit, but
Yeah.
experienced, been there, fought the area titles, which is a good level in its own right. Interesting to see how he gets on.
It will be. The last 2 fighters on
Good
the
luck.
card only have Liam O'Hare's been part of 14 fights now. The last 2 fighters combined have only been in 14 fights.
Yep.
Starting with S.A. Smith, who is 5-1-1, which you would at first glance suggest he's maybe had a little bit of a rocky start, but actually he drew to River Wilson Bent
In his third fight,
in his third fight.
he was 2-0 when he went in with River Wilson Bent.
He then fought George Liddard. I believe that was his 4th fight.
He's had an easy run, hasn't
No, wow. River
he? George
Wilson Bent.
Liddard, the youngest British middleweight champion of all time.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think S.A. Smith needs to have a look at his matchmaking.
So I mean, he was the fighter who beat James Osborne, who we mentioned earlier. So if those two meet, that might have a bit of spice to it. That'll be nice.
A little bit of needle.
Drew to River Wilson Bent, lost to George Liddard on points. Already fought some brilliant fighters. Drawing to River Wilson Bent, that
Great
says
result.
a lot about him
Great
at
result.
his level, really.
Especially the experience of only being 2-0 going into that.
Yeah.
The one thing I think we've not mentioned up until this point as well is a lot of these fighters have fought on smaller shows. Obviously, Jermaine Brown's been here, there, and everywhere, and that'll benefit him. But this is a small arena, nonetheless. But it is going to be televised,
Yep.
which again will probably be different to what a lot of these guys have had. You're going to be in your corner. You're probably going to have a mic there. You're going to have a guy with a big ass camera. There's them sort of things that we don't take into account as fans at times.
That might just throw him off.
A little bit, but with S.A. Smith, I think, to be honest, we could call everyone an underdog, but you look at his record and you think, you know what? He's done a hell of a lot in a really short period of time. If he was to go I'd argue it would cause the upset and go and win this, puts himself in a really good spot to kick on.
Yeah, open some doors for him.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good luck.
S.A. Smith.
S.A. Smith.
Harris Khan is our last fighter.
Yeah,
Very,
probably
very interesting to be honest with you. He is 7-0,
he is.
only one stoppage, but he isn't a super middleweight, really, is he? Um,
Mm, I've got so I think he's the what's the opposite of a what's the opposite of like an odds-on favourite? It's not an underdog. Can't call everyone an underdog. For me, he is the least likely to win this tournament
okay.
for a couple of reasons. Because there's a couple of large question marks. One was what you were talking about. He's never actually made the super middleweight limit.
Doesn't not that we've seen. His lowest weight so far, according to BoxRec stats, was 172 pounds.
Yeah. So
And when he was out in September, he weighed 181 pounds.
yeah, you look through his career and you look through his weight records. He weighs in regularly at 180 pounds. Now you could argue a couple of things there. A, he's not boiling down; he's just fighting at walk around weight, which isn't a problem.
Yeah,
It's not ideal because most people will boil down and rehydrate. Alternatively, he's not a super middleweight. I mean, how tall is he, Dan?
he is 6'4".
Now there are a couple of exceptions to the rule when it comes to height. I mean, Sebastian Fundora is the one that always
Yeah,
comes to mind, but
the tower.
with regards to Harris Khan, he's 6'4". He's never weighed in at super middleweight, and he's in a super middleweight tournament. For me, that just raises red flags straight off the bat. Um, but if he does make super middleweight, the next big question: how much is left in tank?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely right. I think actually something that we didn't note down, but there were supposed to be two other fighters on this card. There was who have now been replaced for
Correct.
the 8-man tournament.
Correct.
Steve Woodall,
Yep.
who was called in last minute to fight Ezra Taylor,
Yep.
and also Mark Dickinson.
Yeah.
And I would argue that although Mark Dickinson had a poor showing last time, especially not meeting weight, and then obviously Troy Williamson uh,
Flattening him.
flattening him, those two would have been my favourites for this.
They were the best fighters on the card. Mark Dickinson, former English champion, really highly rated, coming through the northeast of England with a host of other talents: Ewan McKenzie, Cyrus Pattinson. Um, Career's gone a little bit skew with, unfortunately. Had a loss out in Japan. And again, this isn't the Mark Dickinson show, but the point is that he was highly rated coming through. And I think if he'd have got his stuff together, he'd have been one of the favourites coming into this.
Yeah,
And Steve Woodall, again, like you mentioned, has competed against some of the bigger names in and around them divisions, sort of super middleweight, light heavy. And I think for me, Steed would have probably been my choice to win it
yeah,
if he'd have remained in the format.
yeah, absolutely. But there are also, so it isn't just the tournament. There are going to be a few fights, sort of filling in as well. So we think we're going to make a quick mention of them. So Luis Sylvester is fighting an 8-rounder against Lubanja at lightweight. We've got Harry Powell and Liam Coppin fighting at light heavyweight. Adrian King's in for 6 rounds at heavyweight. Ted Jackson for 6 rounds at middleweight. And we do have a debut for Eugene McKeever, who is, we expect him to be at welterweight because that's where he spent most of his amateur career.
Yeah, in and around welter, super welter, something along those lines. But
Yeah.
we will see on the night. You tend to find that debutants do chop and change their weights depending on the opponent they find for him.
Yeah. Now we can't really do our usual next card in the deck here because we can't say who's fighting who. So I will just ask you for a start. Who do you think is most likely to win it?
I think if you're going purely on experience levels competed at, for me, you've got to go Jermaine Brown as the favourite. Yeah, I'd go Jermaine Brown as the outright favourite if I'm being completely honest. What about you?
Um, I would tend to agree. He's got experience. He's got a couple of stoppages on his record. But the thing is, it's whether that ring rust is going to come off in time.
It's the thing, isn't
So
it?
failing that, I don't know. I say Smith. I'm sort of thinking,
Hey, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him do well. I think.
Good.
That is it. And as I say, realistically, we can't really follow our usual format for this.
I do have a question for you.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with. So you've picked S.A. Smith as your going in. You're backing him, yeah? Fine. Who's your one to watch?
I probably should really have called him my one to watch rather than who I think is going to. Like I say, I feel like Jermaine Brown's probably got
Okay.
the best shout, but it depends on how the ring rust is for him. I would like. think one to watch is S.A. Smith. You can't ignore the people that he's lost to and drew to, and drawing to a Wilson Ben. Having not watched it back, suggests he's at a good level. So yeah,
Agreed.
perfect. I'm glad you agree.
No problem at all. Thank you, sir.
I
We
think
have.
with that in mind, we're probably coming up to the end.
Can I drop a quick news update for everybody?
You would really like to, yeah.
Um, so there's two things actually. Huge reports from everywhere in the boxing world that Anthony Joshua has joined Alexander Usyk's coaching team.
Wow.
When I say joined his coaching team, for clarity, he's not coaching Alexander Usyk, but he has joined here the stable that is Alexander Usyk's coaching team.
All right.
Second thing, Lee Hearn seemingly announced last night in the ring, or early hours of this morning, that Anthony Joshua will not headline, but will be on a card before the end of 2025. The main frontrunner is to replace Javonte Davis against Jake Paul,
Embarrassing.
but it will be on a rearranged date, which they are expecting to be the 20th of December, I believe is the date.
There's been a lot of rumors around that. I saw that Ngannou was going to fight Jake Paul. So yeah, a lot going on.
A lot going on in the rumor world.
Well, anyway, this isn't about Jake Paul. Nothing is. Nothing is about Jake Paul.
Agreed.
And that brings us to the end of the video. So let us know what you think. How are you excited for the tournament format? Who you think might win? Pop it all down in the comments for us. Make sure to keep an eye out on TikTok as well, and obviously look out for our content when we actually get to Hull. Hopefully.
Thanks, guys.